I'm Laura of Slice of Pie Quilts. In this video series, we'll be making projects for a nursery. Remember to use the hashtag MSQCKids when you post a photo. Let's get sewing with Missouri Star. I'm Laura of Slice of Pie Quilts here at Missouri Star, and we're going to sew a soft book. This one has crinkle to make it not so quiet, and it also has a 3D element of monkey feet. We're going to start with a book panel and follow the instructions. Let's get sewing. You'll need a soft book panel, thin batting. Today I'm using fusible fleece. Crinkle material is really fun to add to the book. Something to turn the pages inside out, like a pencil with an eraser or a chopstick. Fabric scissors, and a rotary cutter and ruler. The first thing we're going to do is cut apart each page of the soft book using a rotary cutter and ruler. You just want to cut on the lines that are printed on the panel. When you start cutting, you might notice right away that the cover pages are bigger than the interior pages. They're printed that way on purpose, so make sure that you cut them larger. Sometimes the pages won't be printed straight. Try to do your best to get them straight and use the rotary cutter and the ruler to make a straight edge. Make sure you only cut one layer at a time. The pages aren't exactly the same, so if you try to stack it, it'll just make you frustrated. If the panel isn't printed completely straight, you can use the tips of your fingers or your fingernails to pull on the fabric to get it to line up better across the side of the ruler. After you've cut all of the book panel pieces out, do not throw away the instructions. These come in really handy and will tell you the order to sew the pages. This panel has monkey feet that we're going to sew and add onto the book. If yours has something similar, then cut them out on the lines. Now that you've cut out all the pieces of the soft book, we're going to cut out pieces of fusible fleece that are the same size as the book pages. Choose one cover and one of the interior pages to use as a pattern. This soft book needs one fusible fleece rectangle for the cover and two rectangles for the interior pages. So I like to use the cut sides that are already on the fleece and then only cut the other two sides. Now I'll use the interior page as a pattern to cut two fusible fleece rectangles that are the size of the interior pages. I use my tips of my fingers or my fingernails to scoot the fabric right up to the edge so that I only have to cut two sides. For this soft book, we also have the monkey feet, so we want to cut a fusible piece that's the same size as the monkey feet too. I like to add crinkle material to the cover of the book also. This is going to add some noise to the book when the kid plays with it. You'll want to cut one piece the same size as the cover. Now we're going to press the fusible fleece to each page. Make sure that the glue side of the fusible fleece is next to the wrong side of the cover. You wouldn't want to iron it to your ironing board. I like to fuse the fusible fleece to the inside cover page. That way I can put the crinkle material next to the outside of the book. Make sure you press all the way to the edges of each page. I don't like to set them down when they're warm on my cutting mat, so I kind of like to air it out first. Use the directions that came on the book panel to know which pages to fuse to the batting or the fusible fleece. So I fused the pages 4 and 7 and also pages 2 and 9. Don't forget to also fuse the monkey feet. Now that we've fused all of our pieces, it's time to sew. I like to start with the cover page. You'll want to put the 2 cover pieces right sides together. If you're using the crinkle material, put that on top. Now use clips to clip all the way around the piece. When you sew, you'll use the printed area as a guide for where your needle should go. Be sure to leave a space 3 to 4 inches open, but from where you start and stop, so that you can turn it right sides out. I like to stop with the needle down in the corner so that I can turn to stitch down the other side. When you're about 3 inches away, stop, remove it from the machine, and then we'll turn it right sides out. To get ready to turn it right sides out, you'll want to use scissors to clip the corners. This removes the bulk from the corners. Just be sure not to cut through your stitch line when you do it. If you're using crinkle, be careful not to rip the stitches out as you turn it inside out, but it's going to be a little noisy. Just turn it right sides out. I like to use my fingers to press out the corners, but you can also use a chopstick or the eraser of a pencil. Once you have turned the book page right side out, you're going to stitch all the way around the outside edge so that you can seal up the hole where you turned it. I'm using a straight stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the book, and the hole that's opened, you just want to use your fingers to turn under the raw edges so that they're sealed up when you stitch over the top of it. When you get to the corner, keep your needle down and pivot and then keep going. Sometimes when I get to the corner, it's not a perfect corner, it's a little bit curved. So I'll just stop when it starts to curve, and I'll pivot a couple times. So just take a couple stitches, wait for the needle to go down, and then pivot again. When you get to where you started, just backstitch over the stitches again to hold them in place. Most soft books don't have a 3D element, so I've shown you how to sew a cover without a 3D element. But this soft book has some monkey feet, so now I'll show you how to add that to the cover. Take the two pieces and you're going to sew them right sides together. You want to follow the printed line of the monkey feet or 3D element, leaving the top open for turning. When I come to a curve, I stop with the needle down, lift the presser foot, and turn it a bit and take a few stitches. Then I do it again to continue around the curve. I take just a few stitches at a time and sew slowly. Now that you've sewn all the way around the monkey feet, you're going to want to use scissors to clip into the curves, but not through the stitches. Let me show you. You want to snip right into the curve like this, so that there's room for it to turn when you turn it right side out. For this one, I'm actually going to cut the legs apart because it'll be easier to turn them inside out. I snip about every 1/4 inch, only around the part that's curved. Then you'll reach in between the two layers of fabric and turn it right side out. This is when the pencil will come in handy. So for this one, when you're layering the elements, you're going to start with the page that you had the fusible fleece on, and then you're going to add the monkey feet. You'll want to put them facing up, right on top of the body where the monkey feet need to go. This one has some pre-printed stitching lines, so you want to line those up with where you plan to stitch. Then lay the other piece of the cover right side down on top. If you're using the crinkle material, you'll lay that on top as well, and then clip all of the layers together. Make sure that you also clip right where the feet are at to hold them into place. Now stitch all the way around, leaving a 3 to 4 inch opening where you'll turn it right sides out. When you get to a corner, remember to pivot with the needle down. It's okay if the crinkle material gets a little wrinkled. It'll just add to the sound. When you get to the monkey feet, it's going to be a lot of layers to stitch through. So you want to kind of go slow and make sure that the machine can go through all the layers. You could use a walking foot if your machine needs it. Before turning it right sides out, you'll want to clip the corners and also clip any extra of the monkey feet that are sticking out, like the monkey's legs. You want to reach in between the two fabric pieces of the cover, the front and the inside cover pages, to turn it inside out. It'll be loud, but stick with it. There's the monkey feet hanging on the side. Now you'll sew all the way around the edge to close up the hole where you turned it right side out. Make sure that when you stitch, you go on top of the feet here. You don't need to go around the feet. Fold under the raw edges and stitch the hole shut. Remember to backstitch over right where you started. And now you're ready to add the interior pages to the book. Lay the pages right sides together, clip them in place, and sew all the way around the edge, following the printed line on the panel. Also, make sure that you leave the 3 to 4 inch opening so that you can turn them right side out. I like to clip about every 4 or 5 inches. Whatever you're comfortable with is the right amount. When you get to the corner with the needle down, then lift the presser foot and pivot. Then sew right down the other side. Clip the corners just like you did on the cover page, and then turn it right sides out. When you go to turn it right sides out, you want to make sure that you reach in between the two printed pieces and not between the fabric and the fusible. I use my finger to push out the corners, but if you can't really get it, the eraser of a pencil works really great. Once you've turned it right sides out, stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around to seal up the hole where you turned it. You can use your fingers and your thumb to kind of twist the seam if you like, in order to get it to line up exactly on the edge and be turned all the way out. When you get to the hole where you turned the fabric right sides out, use your fingers to turn under the raw edges so that it's a nice straight edge for you to stitch over. When you get to the spot where you started, just backstitch a little bit over the stitches to hold them in place. And repeat for the last interior page. Once you have all the pages sewn, you're going to layer them in the right order. This is important. You want to triple check this step. So check the page numbers, that they go in the right order. Once you're sure that they're correct, you're going to line them up because you're going to sew right down the middle to hold all the pages together. Some pages have a different color on each page, so they create a natural line for you to sew on. Other times, like in this book, the two pages are the same color, so you're not really sure where you need to sew. So I like to use a ruler and a chalk pen or a disappearing ink pen to connect the top and the bottom. So I'm looking underneath at the page that did have a difference in color, and I'm using that to line up my ruler at the top and the bottom, and then I can draw a line to know where to sew. Then you're going to take all the layers to the sewing machine. Now this is why I've used fusible fleece, because it's really thin and the sewing machine should sew through it just fine. However, if you're using batting or something else, it may be a little trickier for your sewing machine, so you'll want to use a walking foot. I'm going to backstitch at the beginning and the end to secure the stitches. That's it. That's how you make a soft book. Now you know how to sew a soft book. Remember, the cover is a little bit larger than the interior pages, and you can add the crinkle or leave it out. You can also leave the 3D element off or put it in if your panel comes with one printed on it. I can't wait to see and hear your soft book. Remember to use the hashtag MSQCKids when you post a photo. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial from Missouri Star.
We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you are not already part of the Missouri Star Quilt family, you can hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.